me?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
All right, how do you want to get started on this, Bob?
You go ahead.
Well, let's you know, we've got the first page. It's virtually agreement all the way through. The rest of it is so close. But I understand that down on 16, there is some concerns with that wording. Do you want to go from that? Do you want to go back to the top? How do you want to do this?
My thought is to have just Tamara walk through each one, so we just kind of refresh ourselves of what it is. But I agree with you.
We got someone echoing.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah, really. Okay. Test any echo? Okay, Tamara, take it away.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is the Joint Conference Committee on Senate File 1004 and House Bill 1004. This committee will be chaired today by Senator Dockstader, pursuant to the rules adopted, the Joint Rule 23.
What did you say in the introduction?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Joint Rule provides that for the first appointed Joint Conference Committee through this process, the chairmanship shall alternate between the House and the Senate. And the first bill for which a Joint Conference Committee was appointed is this bill. And so that chairmanship starts in the Senate.
The number though, what did you say the number was?
I'm sorry, we're on 1001 on
Okay.
House Bill and Senate File 1001.
Correct, okay, thought I heard something different. Go ahead.
All right. Do you want to begin by walking through the mirrored amendments?
Sure, that would be fine. I mean, we're close there already, so let's not do a lot of time there.
We have 4 mirrored amendments. The first relates to the definition of state entity. It allows it to include programs and services offered by a third party. The second, and these are on your summary sheet 3 and 4, includes major renovations and capital construction of facilities. The third mirrored amendment, 5 and 6, includes any hospital or other healthcare facility that is operated by a governmental entity as a potential recipient of CARES Act funding. And the fourth mirrored amendment would authorize funds to be provided through grants for expenditures related to COVID-19 on the Wind River Reservation through the SLIB and to the business councils of the Eastern Shoshone and Northern Arapaho tribes. Each of these needs to be acted upon, meaning either a House position or a Senate position needs to be adopted for each of these mirrored amendments. The like amendments are on page 2 of your summary sheet. They begin on 9 and 10. These amendments relate to the Wyoming State Constitutional provision. They both acknowledge several provisions, Article 3, Section 36, and Article 16, Section 6. However, the House position also acknowledges Article 7, Section 20. So these would otherwise be identical without that additional change. The next like amendments relates to the technical correction. Both amendments and positions of the House and Senate correct references to House Bill and Senate File 1002. And the Senate's position also provides that expenditures may be made to adequately fund the workers' compensation account to pay necessary and permissive liabilities as allowable. The next set of similar amendments are 2 House amendments and a Senate amendment. And the end resulting of the 3 amendments is that the House position is to authorize expenses incurred by businesses, cooperatives, and political subdivisions of the state to produce and process food. And the House position includes that, but also specifies that the expenses are for those businesses, cooperatives, and political subdivisions of the state that have suffered adverse market effects or experienced unusual levels of strain in the supply chain due to COVID-19. The remainder of the amendments are all unique. They are not like or identical. The first is on line 16, Senate Amendment 2009. It modifies the legislative findings to add the language regarding the state health officer issuing orders that restricted economic activity and adding the words forced to the phrase forced closure of businesses. The next unique amendment is Senate Third Reading Amendment number 3. It's on line 17. Relates to healthcare entities, and includes rural healthcare districts and hospital districts as eligible for grants. Next one is number 18. It's Senate second reading number 12 relating to capital construction. It adds an allowable purpose for the appropriation, specifically capital construction expenses to improve the state's emergency healthcare capacity in response to COVID-19, which would be authorized by Homeland Security and the State Building Commission. The next one, number 19, House second reading amendment number 5, which was divided, and what was adopted of that divided amendment was to authorize funding for Wyoming businesses, including costs experienced by Wyoming businesses that were directed to cease or limit business operations. The final one is Senate second reading amendment number 1 relating to grant reporting, and would remove the legislature as the recipient of reporting by the grantee. So those reports of whether an entity had already received federal funds would only go to the governor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Chairman Nicholas, anything?
Well, I have a couple questions, but as we go back through them, I think it makes more sense to do it as we walk through each one.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to start after the mirrored amendments? You want to go through those as well?
So honestly, I think the mirrored amendments are pretty simple. So,
Okay. So go past that, go to page 2 then.
well, do you want to just deal with the
Oh,
mirrored amendments now?
yeah, let's go ahead and dispense them. Senator Grew, had a question?
I was just actually gonna suggest that do we have to amend them each one at a time, or can we just run them as 4? Like, I was just thinking 1 and 2 is take the House position, 3 and 4 take the Senate position. Is that okay?
Yeah. Tamara, can we run them all at once, Tamara? Go through each one.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as long as you take a position on each and every amendment, you can make a motion that includes multiple amendments to positions at the same time.
All right, fair enough then. What was your suggestion, Senator Grew? How did you put that up?
I would move that we adopt on number 1, House Amendment 2002 and House Amendment 3001.
All right.
And then Senate Amendment 2013 and Senate Amendment 2008.
Okay. Is that agreeable with everybody?
Sure. Say it one more time.
Okay. Move to adopt House Amendment 2002/A, House Amendment 3001-A.
So when you do that, I think you have to make the specific reference that you do not adopt Senate File 16A. Is that correct, Tamara?
Oh, that which we're excluding. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Maybe I'll just do it. How about we just do them one at a time?
Start over, and you do have a second.
Start over.
Senator
Start over and do adopt
Senator
House.
Wasserberger, wait.
Yeah. Adopt House Amendment 2002 and delete Senate Amendment 2016 on definition of state entity.
All right.
Is that correct?
That's the way we're doing it. And you have a second already with Senator Wasserberger.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to take them one at a time, or you just keep going?
Just keep going.
That's up.
Keep going. Okay, then adopt House 3001 and delete Senate 2010 on capital construction.
Senator Wasserberger, second.
Adopt Senate position 2013 and delete House position 2006 on definition of health facilities.
Second from Wasserberger.
Adopt Senate position 2008, delete or adopt Senate 2008 and delete House 2001 on authorizing funding for tribes, grant funding.
All right, very good. Senator Wasserberger seconding. Okay, we've got a sweeping motion here. All in favor of those say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. All right, page 1 is dispensed of. Let's go to page 2. All right.
Chairman, can I jump in on the first one?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chairman Swanson, sir.
Thanks. So for the Senate background of what happened in the House, The similar amendment that Senator Case brought on second reading, we brought, but it, am I reverberating?
Just in your own ears. It's because we're sitting so close.
So
you're not properly socially distanced.
So what you brought on second reading, we also brought, it failed on a tie 30-30 vote. Because of the requirement to not bring the same amendment back on the same day, we did have to change the wording up a bit for third reading, which passed probably about 45 to 15, but that's where you see the addition of Article 7, Section 20. So not only are we granting, I guess, allowability that says we're in line with the Constitution, we added the kind of promotion. The Constitution says we must, we have a duty to protect and promote the health of Wyoming citizens and businesses. And so at the end of the day, it matters not to me which way we go. I just wanted the Senate to kind of have an idea of the background on why they seemed 98% alike, but slightly different.
All right, Chairman Zwan, we didn't really have any discussion on that on 720, but I don't see a concern. Gentlemen, comment?
Just looking here real quick.
Okay. Bold face there.
Yep, page 5. No, I'm.
Well, I would move the House position then. That's a starting point.
Yeah, let me just look just a second.
So while you're looking,
Go ahead, Chairman.
sure. I voted against both of these because I don't think it's necessary. But if we do it, the House is more descriptive and adds two components to explain. So it more fully comprehends the actions of, and why it is justified constitutionally. So
Just justifying the Constitution. Mr. Chairman, what was your concern in voting against in the beginning?
Oh, it's to me, it's really a self-justification for actions that and there's just lots of instances where you're better off not saying what your constitutional rationale is or what your interpretation of the Constitution is. You just do it. So it's really a matter of draftsmanship. I don't know that it's critical either way. So I'm really kind of non-denominational about it.
Okay, non-denominational. Actually, I'm kind of with you in that non-denominational. Right? But if the rest of the committee would prefer to have it, senators, representatives, okay, we okay with it? All right, we got the justification in there, 720, why we're doing it. Your motion on that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and move it. Mr. Majority Floor Leader, so moving the House third reading amendment number 3 and striking second reading amendment number 7 from the Senate.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, very good. Next one up for consideration, 11 and 12. Tamara, would you review that for us one more time?
Mr. Chairman, this amendment includes a technical correction. The bill that, as it was introduced, it had a vague reference throughout the drafting process, and as it was introduced, the reference was made to House Bills and Senate File 1002, and it said 0002 instead of 1002. So to correct that number, this amendment clarified it's 1002 and used some more extensive language as we're using in the other bills to be consistent to refer to House Bill 1002 and Senate File 1002 if enacted into law. However, the Senate went beyond the technical correction and they added through their position in reference to the fact that funds can be expended in this bill on House Bill and Senate File 1002, they referenced that expenditures could explicitly be made to adequately fund the workers' compensation account to pay for necessary and permissive liabilities allowed. Without that sentence language, it simply says that funds may be used to implement that other bill.
Okay. So we just simply drive it home to the workers' compensation account with the specific wording. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
So, Mr.
Simply allows us to define it better. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Co-Chair, I would move this position, second reading amendment, number 14.
Second.
Senate side, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then to delete House 3006.
Okay. Lindholm, was that your second? Yeah. Okay. We have a second. Oh, and Lossberg really wants to. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that one is dispensed. All right, thank you. Next for our consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the House position, third reading amendment number 7, just because it's more comprehensive. And so if we're going to have specific language with regards to the, I think it's just more encompassing than the Senate version. We had the Senate version and that failed. That was at once was kind of a reciprocal bill, and we said, well, we want some added language to make it more comprehensive. And so that's what that says.
Okay, actually authorized, produce, process food incurred. Separate adverse effects. Supply the chain. Yeah, supply the chain. And that actually, your work opens it up to some possibilities that we are working on out there. So
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any concerns? Okay. Yeah, that's that does open up a door of opportunity for us that wasn't there before. Okay, do we have a second on Chairman Nicholas's? 2 of them. So okay. Did you get that, Tamara? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to say Chairman Nicholas was an aye. I didn't see him. Okay. All right. Down to the one where we maybe have some concerns, but we're probably closer than you think. So the Senate side, as I understand it, then we COVID-19 prompted the state health officer to issue orders restricting economic activity, adding the word forest to the phrase forest closure of the business. You have some concerns with that? Go ahead, gentlemen.
So yeah, we did this on a couple different ends. To us, the language was just too severe. It's basically the amendment was almost drafted as if a shot across the bow to our state health officer, and we're going. I mean, we're drafting legislation that's going to be in the books for a long time, and the idea that we're going to have a kind of a verbal slur about a forced closure, I just think it's inappropriate. It's
and I take it, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that and see where you're coming from. I take it more. We had businesses that were not forced to close, but still greatly affected by this. We took for years to get a name brand hotel in our community, an iconic brand hotel, and it went overnight to, well, 1 week it's full, the parking lot's full. Next week I got 2 or 3 cars parked in front of it. We have a big lodge complex, the same thing, full. And then overnight, 1 or 2 cars in a multi-big lodge complex. And they weren't forced to close, neither one of them, but their business went away just like that, and it hasn't come back. So I don't know if the word forced limits us. I mean, not everybody was forced to be closed, but still felt the effects. Go ahead, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, and I appreciate that conversation. We debated this pretty heavily, and it was close. But I think it's important to note that this is just in regards to legislative findings. This doesn't move the ball for any of these businesses. It doesn't fix anything for them. So with that being said, can I get LSO to read the full phrase? Was it just the word force that was added?
Cameron?
Mr. Chairman, this amendment came in 2 parts. I think it had 2 changes. Let me look at that text quickly. So within the legislative findings, before the words created, with related to COVID-19, did the following. The legislature finds that COVID-19 caused the following. The Senate position added, prompted the Wyoming State Health Officer to issue health orders restricting economic activity, which created, and then the text of the bill explains the creation of the economic devastation and other financial insecurity that it caused. The other change, the second part of the change, was to clarify that they were forced closures.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Go ahead, Mr. Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. I think the first part of that makes a heck of a lot of good sense, and it's kind of might be a possibility for a kumbaya. The word forced was really, in regards to forced takings, it's essentially semantics at this point. We know what happened. Nobody's happy with it. We're trying to make it right. And I think the first part of that amendment is really good. So I guess I just
have Tamara read that again real quick. And I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but go ahead. The first part of it.
The full text will read, it'll be paragraph V within the legislative findings, the public health crisis caused by COVID-19. The first change is on page 3, line 10. It'll be subparagraph B. Prompted the Wyoming State Health Officer to issue orders restricting economic activity, which created economic devastation to Wyoming's economy and tax base for the state and local governments. On page 3, line 15, subparagraph C will be the public health crisis caused by COVID-19 resulted in the loss of employment and income for Wyoming residents, the forced closure of businesses and schools, destabilized housing, and greatly exacerbated financial insecurity in the state.
Okay. Senate side, Wasserberger, Guru, jump in here.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader. I'm and Bob and I are on the same end of this one. I know that there are a lot of concerns about how a lot of these things occurred, especially with regards to the medical officials and how these issues got ordered and why and all that. I think that's something, frankly, that we should be taking up in a different time in a different place. And I would tend to, and I didn't vote for this, and I agree with Bob that I don't think putting this in statute is probably the best way to go. I think that, like I say, I agree with a lot of the concerns folks have, and I want to be there when we address them. But I don't feel leaving this language there exactly the way it's written. It's that forced closure and forced closure of business that I just putting that in statute is problematic for me. So if Bob and I cancel each other out, let Senator Wasserberger decide. There you go.
Before Senator Wasserberger, Tyler, Representative Lindholm, you have comment?
I would just kind of concur with Senator Guru's comments. I think the hitch for everybody is the forced comments. I think that legislative findings are important in this kind of situation to clarify exactly what happened when somebody's looking back in history. So the prompt language is really good because it did prompt the state health officer to take action. And so I really agree with that portion. I guess, depending on what Senator Wasserberger wants to say, my inclination is to adopt the first portion and delete the forced.
Okay, Senator Wasserberger.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, my personal feeling is that the very first half of that amendment is essentially correct. I struggle with the word forced. I think in many ways, businesses, as you said, still stayed open. Yeah. Their business just went away. And unfortunately, it's horrible. Yesterday, I was at a hospital, and the hospital is one of the largest hospitals in the United States, and it's empty. So I would be in favor of dropping the word forced. I wasn't a part of the debate. Did we put that same language in all the findings of all the bills, or just this one?
Tamara, can you help us remember?
Chairman, Senate files in House Bill 1004 have findings, and that's the only other legislative findings. And I don't think that this change
Was transferred over.
any of those.
All right.
And that, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, then I would be in favor of the proposed amendment that we have before.
One place, yeah. You know, I follow up on that, you know, I go up and down my main street. I got a 40, 50 mile long main street, and I think of all the businesses that remained open. They weren't forced to be closed, but they have significantly declined business or no business at all. Clothing stores, I just, my outdoor activity, ATV type stores, I talked to them and they said people just quit coming in, but nobody forced them to be closed. They just quit coming in. And that's the part. Representative Swan, so we don't want to leave you out of this conversation.
I don't like the amendment at all in general. I don't like legislative findings, and I'll probably be a no vote on either of the words forced or talking about the state health officer.
So you're just not a findings guy. Okay. You've been talking to Senator Scott.
Okay, move to delete Senate file, second reading amendment 9.
Say that again, please. You jumbled.
Yeah, I would move to delete Senate file, second reading amendment number 9 as amended.
Okay. And then that leaves us with what again? After we're done, we walk away then.
Tamara?
Tamara?
If you completely delete second Senate reading amendment number 9, you'll just be left with the legislative findings as they appear in the bill.
Let me think a second here. What if, Senator Nicholas, what if we just pulled the word forced closure or just forced closure out of the business, left it in? That still does the exact same thing, Tamara, right? Then if we just pull that out.
Yes, you can simply adopt the first change to page 3, line 10, and disregard. It'll be a delete and further amend.
That's fine.
Okay.
So in other words, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, prompt stays in, forced goes out. Is that what we're talking about?
Is that, Tamara, is that it?
That's what I've heard you say.
Okay, a second.
For that, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any? Okay. All right, on to the next one. Healthcare facilities or healthcare facilities. That was an add-on, but you have concerns, Chairman?
Mr. Co-Chair, our only problem with this, and Tamara, I would ask you to concur with this. Healthcare districts and hospital districts are already eligible as it's currently written. And so it's superfluous to add this particular phrase. It may be that you just want to reemphasize that, but my understanding is that they qualify.
Mr. Chairman, from my perspective, I'd like to keep that in the mix. Just a second, Representative, we had an absolutely exemplary example of, we just had this great situation, small rural healthcare situation with 3 state-of-the-art surgical suites. We had orthopedic surgeons, we had general surgeons, we had 7 family practitioners, and literally within a week, it was all very profitable. Within a week, we went into a nonprofit. I'd like to keep it in there as an emphasis. Whether we'll climb out of the hole, and we haven't got a traffic light on our main street, but we got general surgeons and orthopedic surgeons. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Yeah.
I would like to keep this in the bill also and specifically state rural healthcare and facilities. I don't represent hospitals in that way, but I do think I come from an area where that is important. It's in Niobrara County and Crook County. And so I think at least for the Senate side, the Senate would like to see that this language remains.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Representative Lindholm.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Yeah, so I'm just looking at page 10, and I'm a rural healthcare guy. That's all I got. And so page 10, to provide grants for expenses incurred by Wyoming healthcare providers and healthcare facilities to respond. I don't think it's restrictive in any way. So I guess I'm trying to see the whole here.
Yeah, I just, with you there, I'd like to keep that in there. I'd like to find a way for a very, one successful center to pull itself back out and be successful again. Mr. Chairman?
Chairman, I would suggest, how about if we do this? If we keep in that language and then delete Senate file second reading number 12. And just for discussion purposes, we debated this on the floor. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think someone was in favor of it who's sitting next to me. But you know, for one, directing the Homeland Security to and having them be the responsible one to request it doesn't make any sense to me. That's kind of a little bit outside what their bailiwick is. And also to make it so that it has to be approved by the State Building Commission. So we're making this two-step bureaucratic process by which to do these special capital construction projects. The bill already allows capital construction projects for healthcare facilities and for temporary facilities. And so I don't think by taking this out, it doesn't change the process, although we don't necessarily have to go through the Homeland Security, State Building Commission process.
So in theory, if Representative Summers was right there next to you and offering advice, does that still, I mean, I don't want to limit what he's trying to do over there in Sublet.
No, I don't think that affects Sublet at all. I mean, this was promoted by on our side. It was Representative Lindholm because he thought it was a good idea to start going around rural areas and providing electrical services or some other avenues to places that may turn into temporary hospitals so that they're prepared to do it.
Senator Brew? Oh, sorry, you done?
Well, I was going to say that I think the bill's already allowed us to do this. Adding it in doesn't do anything for me, but other than it's kind of like 17. It's just kind of a feel-good statement. But
Representative Grew or Senator Grew? Sorry.
No, I answered anything. I guess I just want to make sure I understand wanting to keep the emphasis in our third reading amendment number 3 about healthcare entities. And as far as the next one goes, as long as, and if Senator Boner was sitting next to me, I know he would be saying, what I wanted to make sure happened with this language is that if I wanted to do a negative pressure retrofit on one of our rural hospital beds in my area, I want to make sure that and use funds for that. I want to make sure it's there. So I guess help me, help with, Representative Summers, Representative Boner, and make sure that we get everybody satisfied and keep that emphasis.
Mr. Wood?
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. We just lost our lights in here. I think it is actually important to note that Homeland Security does actually already do these assessments. So they're already doing this in conjunction with federal partners. So I just wanted to correct that a little bit.
What if we removed Homeland Security? I'd still like to keep it in the mix. I'd like to make sure that we really got an opportunity to take care of healthcare, even if it's overworking it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we say this about 5 different times in terms of what we're going to do for rural health and for construction. We really do, and do we want to require that the State Building Commission has to approve it? What if the legislature just approved it? Why would we keep? Yeah.
Further comment? Let me just look for a minute here. Well, but I think I want to overstate it rather than understate it. Like keep that one. For the comment from the Senate side. Go ahead, Senator Wasserberger.
Well, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, I'm going to move that we accept Senate 3003 in its entirety and
Okay.
would ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, that's dispensive. Then all in favor, say aye.
So
Aye.
you're taking away our bargaining chips by doing that.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, I would remind the Appropriations Chair in the House that this is not the Appropriations Committee.
But he's geared that way.
But I've served on that before and I know how that works.
I knew what he was doing.
Me too.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Come on, one of the House members.
No.
Okay. Well, what about the next one then?
I would move number 20 or to adopt a Senate position.
20.
Where are you at?
Very bottom.
Oh,
Removes the legislature as a recipient of reporting by the grantee.
let's go back up to number 15.
We really like the Senate's position on this one.
Boy, the memories are coming back. Oh, all
I
right.
don't want to brush your head there that far. Let's go back, take a look at 13.
So,
What if we removed Homeland Security, kept the building commission in, or vice versa?
so Mr. Co-Chair, how about if we just put a period after COVID-19?
So it just moves the loopholes out of the way.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, Senate side,
Well, question.
go ahead.
My only question is, yeah, that looks good. So what I heard, am I hearing you say that right? That you want to keep number 17, adopt 18 up until COVID-19 and delete the rest of the line? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? Okay. Thank you. I can go with that. Unless I hear.
Senator Wasserberger? Go ahead.
I'm okay with that, Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Let's repeat exactly what we're doing again.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Well, I'll give it a shot. How about this? How about if we move Senate third reading amendment number 3, healthcare entities, and then move Senate S2012, second reading amendment 12, and delete further amend to delete the line after the word COVID-19 in the third sentence.
And just for technical, because we don't have the exact language here, Tamara, does that work?
Mr. Chairman, that works technically. We can simply adopt that first amendment that was moved and delete and further amend the second amendment to only include the first part. It inserts a new. One note, though, is that the other capital construction expenses in the bill are subject to the approval of the State Building Commission. They don't have this approval of or subject to request by Homeland Security, but the other expenses do have approval by State Building Commission. So that would create an inconsistency, but that would be acceptable.
But that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind being inconsistent.
That's already in the rules. So we're restating it if we do. So.
Yep.
So we're not taking anything away from the State Building Commission by not having it there, correct?
Because they already do it.
Yes.
That's correct.
thought they did. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we do have a second out there, but I want to double check with my two senators. Where do you stand?
I want to double check with you.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to leave.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, are you okay with that?
Well, the commission's already there. It's always been there.
Yeah.
So we are ending a COVID-19 period.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's proceed. We got a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would move that we adopt House Second Reading Amendment number 5, and we adopt Senate File Second Reading Amendment number 1 as amended.
All together. Let me just read real quick again.
$11, $13. Just let me look on the page.
Yeah, senators.
And so you may recall, Mr. Co-Chair, that this is outlined in just the kind of the authorizations of acts. So it's kind of a grocery list of things that the funding could be used for. And so it's probably already covered, but it's just another way of stating it, the same thing in a more precise fashion, that we're going to take care of those people that had their businesses impacted. So it's kind of like what you guys did with the rural health stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. We wanted the legislature out of the mix on the next one. So our representatives, Mr. Webb, Mr. Chairman. Okay. What are we missing here, folks? Double checking with the senators. Is that hesitation, Senator Wassenberger, that expression? See, that's what I miss about being at the table with all of you. See your expressions better. Okay. All right. Okay. We got a duel in one motion. Did we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll take the Senate side on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Tamara, do you want to reassess what we did here, review?
And then, Mr. Chairman, for the mayor amendments, you have adopted House Second Reading 2002. You have deleted Senate Second Reading 2016. You have adopted H3001. You have deleted S2010. You have deleted House Second Reading number 6. You have adopted Senate Second Reading number 13. You have deleted House Second Reading number 1. You have adopted Senate Second Reading number 8. For the like amendments, you have deleted Senate Second Reading number 7. You have adopted House Third Reading number 3. You have adopted Senate Second Reading number 14. You have deleted House Third Reading number 6. You have deleted House Second Reading number 8. You have deleted House Second Reading number 11, and you have adopted House Third Reading number 7. You have deleted and further amended House Second Reading number 9. You have adopted Senate Third Reading number 3. You have deleted and further amended Senate Second Reading number 12. You have adopted House Second Reading number 5.01, and you have adopted Senate Second Reading number 1.
I think the only thing that was inconsistent on Senate File Second Reading number 12, which is number 18, we adopted and further amended.
Oh, correct, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have Senate Second Reading number 12 is a delete and further amend where.
Oh, a delete? No, well, was it? Okay, it's a delete and further amend.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll recreate the provision that you,
Okay.
the part of that you have kept.
Thank you.
That you delete the whole thing to recreate it.
I said it backwards, yes.
Okay,
All right, committee, further follow-up?
that was bloody and painful.
Oh, yeah, take me back. March was bloody and painful.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, how do we sign the committee report?
Yeah, how do we?
Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
I will prepare a draft report. Myself and my colleagues, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Richards, will prepare a draft committee report. You will all review it, and if you give your authorization via email or phone, we will add your signature to it
Okay, okay.
from the files we have.
Yeah.
Further questions? Okay, on your
All right.
next meeting, folks. Enjoy your computers.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.